What's up, folks? What's going on? Welcome to episode number 45 of the Spun Today podcast. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Thank you very much for listening. In this episode, I read and reflect on some free writing, which is located at spuntoday.com/free writing, in case you want to check it out and read it yourself. I also get into Tesla's new Model 3, which is priced at $35,000, and SpaceX and NASA's historic and successful landing of a rocket at sea, watching Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson on Netflix, and getting to see Duncan Trussell live at Gramercy Theater in New York City, which was a real treat. So that's what this episode is going to be about. If you're into this type of stuff, stick around. If you're not, stick around anyway. You might learn something new or might bump into something that you might become interested in. So stick around. And if not, then whatever, bounce. All right, so the Tesla Model 3. I put a link in the episode notes for you guys to check it out. You can also go to my website, spuntoday.com/podcast/045, which is this episode. And all the notes will be there. You guys can click on like all the links and shit there as well. And pretty much I wanted to speak about it because it's dope. And I'm a big fan of the Tesla Model S, I think is Tesla Model S, if I'm not mistaken, is the second car released by Tesla. For those of you that don't know, Tesla is a Elon Musk company. He started it. He's still like 22% owner or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because it's a public company now. And, Elon Musk is the guy behind PayPal, innovated the way people interact commerce-wise and, pay for shit on the internet. And he also started Tesla, which is this very ambitious electric car company to take away the stigma of electric cars in terms of them being slow or not as efficient and not they don't look as dope as muscle cars or other like import cars or whatever, or fancier cars and stuff like that. And he's thus far been pretty successful. The stock is doing great. There's been like big dips and they've run into certain issues. For example, with their SUV that recently came out, there was like a year-long delay in anticipated like delivery dates of them or some shit like that, which is a big blow. But they didn't anticipate so much. I guess supply couldn't keep up with demand, basically. So that's what it boils down to. Hopefully they work out those kinks for this next rollout, because it is supposed to be slated for like mass consumption, hence the lower price point. But anyway, back to the Model S is dope. It's sleek, it's sexy. It looks like a Lexus would, or a Benz or a BMW, like a dope fancy car like that. And it's electric, completely electric, not like the hybrid, gas and electric cars. And Elon Musk is definitely like a brilliant billionaire, ambitious dude that's like admirable. And he takes on these like next level type projects. He, aside from like the Tesla car company, he's also the person that started SpaceX, which is a rocket ship company. For those of you that don't know, which I'm going to mention next, which works closely with NASA. And also Solar City, which is electric like panel, to get electric panels like on the roof of your house and just alternate forms of energy in terms of electric. So it all kind of ties together. So with the electric vehicle, and he's like super environmentally conscious, and which is why he's trying to take away the stigma from electric cars just being like shitty looking cars and shitty performing cars. and kind of like break that mold. So he pretty much did that. The first car that they came out was a Tesla Roadster. It was a really high end, fancy looking, like a Ferrari looking type car, and that's like to break that mold or that concept. Then the S Type, which is the luxury vehicle, came out, which is super dope, super successful. It's the one, I don't know if you guys know, that in the interior, like the center console, right on the dashboard, it has like a huge, it looks like an iPad that controls like everything in the car, like where the radio and AC and all that shit would be. And it just looks like really dope, like a computer screen right there. And it's a very nice looking car. Expensive, I think it's like 85,000, 65 to 85,000 or something like that, I think is the price point for it. Then he came out with I believe it's Model X. And that is the SUV which recently came out, and that's the one that had the issues with production, in terms of like supply meeting demand. People reserved it, I think, like a year or two in advance, and there was like a year-long delay in actually granting those deliveries. As of late, they've been meeting them, and that's a dope-looking Jeep. I don't like Jeeps. I don't like SUVs. It's never been my thing. The only one I actually really liked, and only from the exterior, because inside it just looked pretty vanilla, pretty like dingy and not dingy, but like plasticky and not luxury type, was Range Rovers, which outside I think exterior wise looks dope. This, I could say, is the second SUV that I like that just looks fucking awesome, outside and inside. Comfortably seats. It has like 7 people. And they're all like bucket seats, just like the the front passenger driver seats. You have 3 of those in the middle, and then in the back row you have 2 more. And it just looks sick. It's sleek. It's sexy. Inside and out. And then out the back doors, they introduced something called Falcon Wing doors, which just like if you look at the car with the doors open, like from the front, really looks like a fucking falcon flying in the air. Like, it looks sick. They're like DeLorean style, open upward type of doors, and they require less clearance than regular doors. That like if you open up a regular car door, it extends out like 3 feet, 3.5 feet. This one, since it opens up and out, only needs 1 foot of clearance on each side. So that's sick. It looks dope, and it's just a sick looking Jeep. I have no idea how much that one is, but I think because of like the production issues in terms of like meeting the demand, you could like reserve one or something. You can't like just outright buy it. And then that brings me to the Model 3, which again, links are in the episode notes for this, and you guys can check it out. It looks really dope. Check out the pictures, the specs. Something that I really, really, aside from being environmentally conscious, completely electric, and stuff like that, something that really speaks to me that I think is dope about what Elon Musk and the Tesla company is doing is that above all, they're like very big on safety, and all car companies say this. Safest in its class, blah blah blah. Safest in most areas and blah blah blah. But if you look into their actual safety ratings, which is, let's take for example, let me give you 2 examples. 2016 Honda Accord has an overall safety rating of 5 stars out of 5 stars. But when you break down, for example, from a frontal crash, it's only 4 stars. From a side crash, it's 5 stars. On a rollover, it's also 5 stars. Then if you take an Acura TSX, it's not rated from a frontal crash, side crash not rated, and a rollover, it is rated at 5 stars. So from a safety perspective, they make it a point at Tesla to make sure that across the board, all safety ratings are at 5 stars across the board, which is dope. That's awesome to hear. That's definitely something that you want. And the car really is a nice looking car. really, really nice, like fancy looking nice, dope car. And this is the Model 3 is meant to be for mass consumption for us regular folk to be able to afford it. And it's priced at $35,000, the base model, which is not like chump change or anything like that, but definitely much more realistic than let's say like the Model S being at 85,000 or something like that. And one of the other coolest things about them is about Tesla is that they want to work with all the other big name auto companies. Like Mercedes, I believe that they're working with them already, BMW, to try to get them more so into the electric car game, which is a very small portion of the market share. So they want them, they're supposedly like open source with their technologies and stuff, because they really want to move away from the dependence on fossil fuels in terms of the auto industry here in the U.S. and around the world, because they're operational in many other countries as well. And in terms of convenience, they have they're doubling the amount of charging stations throughout the world, and you guys could all check it out. Again, there's the link in the episode notes. I'm not going to bore you with the details that I probably can't explain as good, but it's something that's dope that I'm into in terms of like technology and just everything that company stands for. So now let's take a look at the next Elon Musk company over here that I have to speak about, which is SpaceX. SpaceX, for those of you that don't know, is a rocket ship company that works together with NASA in their, if you thought Tesla was ambitious, or I thought Tesla was ambitious, the goal of SpaceX is for basically, and it's in like the main page of their website, of the goal of SpaceX is to have human, I forget how they word it, but it's human interplanetary, whatever it's called, for us to live on other planets, which is beyond ambitious and like a bonkers type of thought. But it's so dope and awesome that certain people are thinking that way. And basically, what happened here with this successful launch is a couple-fold. So there's a rocket that get shot into space, which had a Dragon, which had a sending. I'm butchering the shit out of this. A rocket ship. All right, so a rocket shoots into space. It has like some sort of pod, or what, I don't know what the technical term for it is, but that gets split off from the rocket, and then the rocket either disintegrates or blows up or whatever, and the pod continues going, and that is aimed towards our space station. Our space station then in turn opens up some sort of mechanical arm and catches this pod, and that pod has with it a shitload of supplies and food and stuff that the astronauts that are in the space station need. And in this delivery, created by a private company called Bigelow Aerospace, is a bedroom-sized inflatable room, basically, which they say is going to change the way that astronauts are able to live and function in space. Which is just sick in and of itself. And what's even crazier with these, which this is like the best argument for why certain industries and certain things work better when private companies are involved. Ethical private companies are involved that aren't just in it to like juice shit. And for example, NASA was expecting to have similar inflatable habitats on Mars, for example, like this bedroom, which is the first of its kind, that it's going to be inflated in the space station that we have floating up there. And NASA, being government funded, has had this idea to have these inflatable habitats on Mars in a couple of decades, so at least 20 years. This private company, Bigelow Aerospace, which is now working with them, has a goal to have these inflatable habitats on Mars in 4 years. So there's a tremendous benefit to all of us, to have these types of companies doing this type of shit, which is really dope, and not just relying on the government for it, especially when they can work in unison like that. So this is a definite awesome example of that type of relationship being a successful one. And so this pod also sends back, when sent back to the Earth and the Earth's atmosphere, and is pretty much shot down and lands somewhere in the ocean, then has to be recovered, etc., is sent back with things, pieces of space material, if you will, another technical term, that the astronauts are gathering while out there in outer space, which obviously lets us know more, or lets scientists know more about our universe, and just furthers our understanding. Now, the awesome historical portion of this entire thing, besides, the inflatable habitats and like shit like that, which are on the way, is the fact that SpaceX, again, Elon Musk's other company, was able to successfully, instead of having the rocket, after it shot up into space, blow up or disintegrate or whatever, it was able to shoot back down into Earth and successfully pinpoint land in the middle of the sea on a, I forget what it's called, but there was some sort of platform like in the middle of the sea, and they were able to successfully land it. This is the second time that they've been able to do it. After the rocket, shot the pod out into outer space. And why this is so monumental and important, aside from the fact that it's sick as fuck. Imagine a rocket ship, getting shot into space, and then pretty much we would just lose it after that. But imagine it just returning back and landing like on a specific predetermined point in the middle of the sea. And what that means in terms of, being able to retrieve like the other pod, like once it comes back, and shit like that. And just like me thinking with absolutely no fucking scientific base, aside from, just being fascinated with this type of shit and like outer space stuff and technology and things like that. The ambitious goal that we referenced earlier of having the ability to colonize other planets, you could fast forward to that point in time and just look back at this being like a seminal moment in that, the ability to just shoot rockets into outer space and actually return them safely. And aside from that, it's super, super, super expensive, which is why NASA, for example, with their small budget compared to like the U.S. Defense budget or something like that, it's like literally pennies on the dollar in comparison. Which is why, with that lack of funding, which is why they're something that a private company is able to do with all of its resources aimed at that specific goal, is able to do something in 4 years versus 20 years for NASA, is because, they have to handle everything basically. But now that these private companies are involved, there's going to be like a huge acceleration in these type of things, and in the possibility of colonizing other planets and going to Mars and stuff like that. And to give you guys a specific example in cost savings, the Falcon 9, which was a rocket that SpaceX shot out to make this delivery for NASA, was $60 million to build that rocket, and it cost $200,000 to fuel it. So pretty much before it was like $60 million to send something out into outer space. That's it, sunk cost, period. Now it's 60 million, which is cheaper, by the way, than NASA was able to do it before. But 60 million to build the rocket, get shot out into space. But now you don't lose that 60 million. It's not a sunk cost anymore because the rocket ship is coming back, and you're able to reuse it again. Now there are going to be costs with making sure it's up to code and making sure there's extreme temperatures and temperature changes that a rocket ship goes through when it's going through our atmosphere and into space and vice versa and coming back. But those costs are estimated to be like $500,000, so $500,000. So you're looking at a cost of, let's say that $500,000. Let's say it's $1 million. Let's double it. It's $1 million. And then $200,000 to fuel it, to shoot it back up again. Let's say it's $1 million, 1.2 million cost in that versus 60 million. So if you extrapolate that and just see, there's a cost savings of like 59 million each time. And the fact that we'll be able to successfully not just do this, twice a year type of thing to explore stuff in space, but the fact that SpaceX already said that the next one they expect to shoot up is in the end of May 2016, with another one in the summertime. Or actually, did they say, I think end of April and then again in May, or at the end of May and then again like sometime in June or July, something like that. But they're doing this, several times a year now, as opposed to once a year or twice a year, which was the budgetary constraint before. What that budgetary constraint allowed for. So it's just sick, and again, people doing stuff like this, people like Elon Musk, are super inspirational, and they are definitely, we're definitely lucky to have people like that doing what they do. So moving right along with the fanboy stuff, and speaking about outer space and just being fascinated, I was watching Cosmos, which is on Netflix, which is really cool. Because I remember stumbling upon the show. I heard some side reference of it from Neil deGrasse Tyson. I maybe on Bill Maher, or just following Neil deGrasse Tyson on Twitter or something like that. And I bumped into. So I forgot how I was watching it, but I watched the first 5 episodes months ago, and really enjoyed it. But then I fell off, and I couldn't remember, it was on some, I don't know if it was it wasn't on YouTube, but it was on some site that I couldn't find again that had them on for free or some shit like that. Anyway, they're on Netflix, so very accessible, very awesome, and really cool. And if you are into space at all, or just scientific history type of thing, but in a really cool, dope way, definitely check out the show. It's called Cosmos, Cosmos, and it's narrated. It's a remake of Carl Sagan's show Cosmos by the same name in the 70s, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is pretty much in place of Carl Sagan here, which Neil deGrasse Tyson has a really interesting Carl Sagan story. That's the person that inspired him to become an astrophysicist, and he met him when he was a kid, and he wrote down on a piece of paper something inspirational to him, and pretty much shot him off in the trajectory of becoming who he is today. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is just a gem. He's a generational treasure, and absolutely a cool, dope individual that is able to take science and next level brainy shit and just fucking tell it to you in a very digestible, understandable way, and an entertaining way, through his show Cosmos, or through his podcast also, which he has called Star Talk Radio. And I don't know, I'm into space, I'm into shit like that, nerdy stuff like that sometimes. So if you guys have any interest whatsoever, check it out. It's not just space stuff. He gets into how fucking telescopes were made, which I guess technically is space stuff, but just to understand the history of certain things like that, especially back in the day when religions ruled and the Word of God and the Bible or whatever sacred text you're into was like the end all be all of everything, and then people like the Faradays and just people in general that would dare to challenge the status quo and moved us as a species really along by doing so. It's just like an interesting thing to get into and learn from, and you guys should check it out if you're into that kind of thing. And moving right along, once again, if you're into cool, heady type of things, I got to see Duncan Trussell, comedian Duncan Trussell, who is currently on a lot of city tour, sponsored by Squarespace. He is, I think it's like 30 or 50 cities that he's doing like back to back to back, which is pretty sick. He was here in New York on April 9th, and I got to go see him. I went with my fiance, and he was at Gramercy Theater, and it was pretty cool. It was dope to see him. He was the last one of my favorite reoccurring podcast guests that I've been put onto, listening to Rogan's podcast, and he was like the last one that I hadn't seen yet, and it was a real treat. Duncan Trussell has a cool podcast that if you're into like meditation and fucking psychedelics and like just heady, trippy type of point of view on things, he's definitely the podcast to listen to. He interviews like Buddhist monks and, well, I don't know if they're monks, but practitioners and comics also, because he's a comic, and just people that are into that type of like heady, thinking in different dimensional fucking ways, and just like a next level different type of perspective on things that you may not consider, and you might listen to and be like, that's crazy as fuck, or you might listen to and think it's dope as fuck. And I'm of the mentality that you can definitely get something from everything. Not that you necessarily will, but that you absolutely can if you're open to it. And I love hearing different perspectives like that, especially with things that fascinate me, like all the type of shit that he speaks about. So that was really cool. So I recommend, if he's coming to your city, to your town, for you guys to check him out while you can. And he's a comic, so he tours regularly anyway. But as of late, he's been much more into his stand-up, from what I gather. So he's doing it more frequently. And now's the time to check him out if you want to. I had a really good time, and with the exception of, and this is just a quick point that I want to make, annoying fucking faggots that sat behind us in the theater. And I don't mean faggot, by the way, as a derogatory term towards homosexuals or whatever. I mean it in a like bitch, annoying, asshole, dickhead type of way. And the fact that they happen to be gay is just a huge coincidence. But the point is, I fucking hate people sometimes, y'all. People are not aware of their surroundings enough. Maybe I'm just being too anal or I don't know. But you're in a fucking packed theater. It's not the most comfortable. You're not in a fucking lazy boy seat. Just be aware of your fucking surroundings. Stop talking, especially during a fucking show. And it's not like, oh, did you hear what he said? That shit was funny. Or even something like that would be annoying. But these motherfuckers are eating chips in fucking bags of chips, which in and of itself is fucking annoying when you're trying to listen to a show. Fucking eating chips, and they're literally having conversations of, oh, what kind of chips are those? Oh, they smell different. Oh, what the fuck is it, cheese or ranch? Like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit? Are you serious? And then one of them just had a fucking annoying fucking laugh, which, whatever, probably can't do anything about that. But that was just like, if it was just that, it's tolerable, because whatever, it's out of your control, right? The way you fucking laugh. But just a loud, bellowing, fucking annoying laugh on top of all that other shit was just like, fuck, man. And what else? Oh, kicking the chair in front of you. You fucking pieces of shit. And this goes for anybody else who goes to like movie theaters and shit like that. There's, unless you weigh 1,000 pounds, you're part of fucking my 600-pound life or whatever the fuck, there's no way that your foot should ever touch or tap the front seat. Even if you're in a tight ass fucking airplane, be cognizant of your fucking feet and don't tap the seat in front of you. So that was another annoying thing. The only I guess karmic thing that made me a little bit more okay with the whole thing is that one of them, of course, got up like 3 times in the middle of the thing to go get drinks. And we were like next to some stairs, and as he was walking up the stairs, he busted his ass and spilled his drink all over the place, and it was embarrassing for him and funny for everyone else. So that was like instant karma right there, I guess. But just fuck, man. Like it would have been a great show if it wasn't for them. It was still a really good show, but people like that just lower the appreciation level, in my opinion, for everyone else. So if you're a dickhead like that, try not to be, and be cognizant of your surroundings when you're around other fucking people. And you know what the sad part is? This motherfucker probably, or both of the dudes, probably enjoyed the show more than anyone else, with complete and utter disregard for everyone else. And that's just sad. That and that reason alone is why I'm happy that one of them busted their ass and fucking spilled his drinks and shit. But anyway, enough of that. Let's do some free writing. Well, some reading of free writing and reflecting on it. All right, the first one I'm going to read is called Don't Worry. And it's posted on spuntoday.com/free writing on April 10th, 2016 is when I posted it onto the site. And it goes, when you begin to worry, stop. Take a deep breath. Think about what your worrying is accomplishing. After you determine the inevitable answer, nothing, move on to focus your time, energy, and emotional state towards fixing whatever it was or is that made you so upset. Start with the root cause. How did this happen? What caused the occurrence to take place? Then take the proper steps to eliminate that catalyst. A lot of what we worry about and concern ourselves with is fixable with the correct approach. The things that aren't in our control that we tend to worry about, the quote bigger things, won't shift in either direction due to our worrying. So focus on positioning yourself to be in a better state of mind and place to handle the repercussions as they occur. Easier said than done, but doable. I wrote that on Tuesday, May 26, 2015 at 7:56 a.m. And I think the main takeaway from this, and this is something that I definitely have to practice much more of, a lot of the shit that I write about, I'm literally writing it to myself. And, just as anyone else, I don't take my advice as much as I should. And we should all do a better job of that. Definitely I should. So a main takeaway from this, and where I think I get caught up when I do begin to worry about things that are out of my control, or even things that are in my control, is that I don't take that very important step of stopping to figure out what it is that, not what it is I'm worrying about, but what it is that caused what I'm worrying about. So that line there that says start with the root cause, and literally ask yourself what, or rather, how did this happen? Whatever it is that you're worrying about, and what caused that thing to happen, to get to the root cause, the root catalyst of what it is. Whether it's a person that just makes you feel shitty, then the answer to that question is cut off that person, and then you won't have that input of a person making you feel shitty. If it's someone that you don't feel you could cut off, then speak to that person and let them know how you feel and how they're making you feel shitty. If you want to take that approach. If it's lack of doing something that you should be doing, like exercising or eating right, or you have a stomach ache because you just ate something that you shouldn't be eating, then you know what the issue is. So identify the issue. I think it's super, super important to be able to identify it, and then with willpower and forcing yourself to basically get rid of that thing. So once you could determine what it is, and you're honest with yourself about determining it, I think you're in a much better position to do something about it and to eliminate it. And then you have the bigger things to worry about, like death of a loved one or something like that, which is something that I always struggle with and constantly think about. And it's you can't do anything about that. Nobody can. And dwelling on it and focusing on it, like it says here, doesn't shift the possibility of it happening in either direction. It doesn't make it less probable or more probable. So you're adding pretty much your own stressor to the situation for something that can't be changed, when in fact what you should be doing is focusing your attention and abilities to spending more time with that person, or if it's something else that's out of your control, let's say you're worried about getting fired or something like that, focus your energy and time on becoming a better employee. Or if you're worried about starting your own business, focus on making that business better or more efficient, or making better use of your time and being able to dedicate more to it, and stuff like that. And just position yourself to be in a better mind state in terms of knowing that you gave it your all, or that you're giving it your all, and just in a position in general to take the repercussions and roll with the punches as they come in. That's my take on that. And the next one that I'm going to read is also posted to the website on April 10th, 2016, in case you guys want to check it out, at spuntoday.com/freewriting. And it's titled, Start Off the Day with Something That You Love. And it goes, set serious time aside for what you want to be doing in life. When you wake up every morning, make it the first thing that you do. Why not start the day off with something that you love? Have to wake up and go to work? So wake up earlier to do what you love and start the day off right. If not, stop kidding yourself. You have a full-time job and a part-time hobby. Let's work on flipping that equation. Set specific time apart for your part-time hobby and make it a part-time job. I just read that like a robot. Set specific time apart for your part-time hobby and make it a part-time job. We have to put in that level of work to make it to the next stage. Then with enough work and dedication, that hobby that we love will transform from a part-time job to a full-time job, replacing the full-time job we have because of necessity. Then voila, we wind up with a full-time hobby, and that sounds perfect to me. Let's give it a whirl. I wrote that on Sunday, May 24th, 2015 at 10:01 a.m. Now, with that, it's one of the other many things that I don't fully take my own advice on. I definitely did implement, waking up earlier. And, this is dependent, obviously, on what it is that you want to be doing. And with me, let's say it's writing, or not, let's say with me, it's writing. And with you, let's say it's something that you can't do early in the morning for whatever reason. You can only do it in the evenings. Then set aside time in the evenings. Or if, it's in the middle of the day or whatever it is, then do it all day, every day on weekends or something like that. Everyone has the ability to do certain things like that, like stay up late and wake up early. And it's just a matter of will and wanting to do it. And not just wanting to do it, but actually doing it. So I say, for example, that I don't fully take my advice on this. I do partially. And in terms of waking up early, earlier. I have a full-time, 9 to 5, but I wake up, instead of waking up at like 7:30 to get ready for work and take the train and shit like that, I wake up at 6:56 or 6:15 in the morning, and that's when I have my alarm set for. So I wake up, I get like a half hour to an hour worth of writing in the mornings, and that's on a good day when I actually don't click the snooze button. But there are those days where I do just click the snooze button and wake up at 7:30. And sometimes it's 2 to 3 days a week I click the snooze button. Sometimes it's I wake up every day during the week. Sometimes I'll only wake up one day during the week to write. Wake up early, and it sucks, when I try to like keep myself honest with what I tweet my calendar out to you guys or anybody else who follows me, and it's kind of like a self-motivational type of tool. And I tweet out my calendar with check marks and X marks on days that I wrote versus days that I didn't write, and the goal is to have it above 50% obviously of the days, and just to make the next month more of a writing month than this past month and so forth. And there's some months that I go in a slump, and out of fucking 30 days I wrote 15 or 16 of the days. Then there's other months that out of 30 days I wrote 25 of the days. And you can't obviously just do 100% of what you want every single time. There are other factors at play and things that come into it, but a lot of the time, and I could only use myself as an example. It's just laziness. It's just pure sheer laziness, pure sheer not having the will to just get the fuck up and not click snooze and do what you got to do. So what I'm saying basically, and what I think, is that wanting to do something, but looking at if I look at my calendar at the end of the month and I see, out of 30 days, I wrote 9 or 10 of those days out of the 30, and the other days I didn't, it's like, I don't really want it. So don't stop kidding yourself. This month is a reflection of you not wanting it. If you want it, flip that shit around and make sure that next month you write 20 to 25 days out of the month. And then you could say, yeah, I want it. Look, I'm trying. You know what I mean? But if you have like that lackluster type of effort, stop kidding yourself. Because I think it's actually hurting saying, I want to be a writer, or I want to lose weight, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And you don't write, or you don't go to the gym, and you don't, because like in your mind, you're like telling yourself that you want it. So you think that that's doing something, and you think that that is having some sort of effect, but you don't. If you're not doing it, you don't want it. So don't say that you want it, because if you want it, you'd be doing it. And yeah, that's what I get from that. And like I said, guys, if you guys want to check out more free writing like that, definitely check out my website, which is all posted on there for free, spuntoday.com/free writing. And you have a bunch of other stuff there. And also check out my book, which is on my website, spuntoday.com/books. And you can find it on Amazon as well. It's called Make Way for You, Tips for Getting Out of Your Own Way. And it's full of this same type of thing. Same type of motivation and inspiration and little kicks in the ass whenever you need it. Please rate and review the podcast whenever you have a chance on iTunes and or Stitcher. Follow me on social media. You can find all my links at spuntoday.com. But social media, I'm like at spuntoday on Twitter and on Instagram, Facebook, the whole nine. Sign up to the Midday Monday Boost Letter, which you can sign up at just by entering your email address at spuntoday.com/newsletter or /subscribe, one of the two, but you guys will find it on my website. And pretty much it's Midday Monday Boost, just to give you guys a boost in the beginning of the week so we can start the week off right. And it just has 5 different points, being a picture of the day, video of the day, podcast of the day, what else? Inspirational quote of the day, and word of the day, because I'm into words and I like learning new words, and I want to share some cool, interesting ones that I come along with you guys. So check that out. Again, it's the newsletter. It's on my website, and it doesn't cost you anything. You just get one a week on Mondays. Midday Monday. And that's pretty much it, folks. That's episode number 45 of the Spun Today podcast. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Thank you, as always, for listening. And as always, substitute the mysticism with hard work and start taking steps in the general direction of your dreams. Thanks for listening.